Warning, this content may be disturbing to some audiences. Subscribe. If you dare. She got irate about how it was unsafe and demanded this is a direct, go outside and raise the parking structure with a stick or something. Hey everybody, welcome to ANECDOSED. People ask Reddit. Yesterday, a woman asked me if her phone case could send text messages without the need to buy a phone. What is the dumbest/most clueless customer you have ever dealt with? Number 1. I work in customer service for a cell phone company, so every day I hear the dumbest customer I've ever heard. But a good one was when a customer complained about international numbers calling and soliciting her. I asked what the number was and she gave me a standard 10-digit number. I asked why she thought it was international, to which she said because the caller ID says it's coming from the District of Columbia. Number 2. I have been a waiter for years, but by far the stupidest thing I've ever had happen to me at work happened when I was just starting out. I was waiting on a family of 4 and they all ordered ice waters. I brought them their drinks and then a few minutes later the mom waves me over. She says the outside of my glass is what I stare at and see the beads of condensation on the outside of the glass. Yeah, it's called condensation, it's what happens when you have ice water in a room temperature glass. She stares at me like I'm a effing alien, and then I realized that this was my future as a waiter, dealing with effing idiots. I took her drink and wiped it off with a towel and handed it back to her. Number 3. I work in the maintenance department of a large hotel in Ohio. Have had a guest flip out because her room did not have a TV. I told her to turn around, she spun in a circle, no lie. I then told her to face the exact opposite direction from where she was and look on the wall above the fireplace. She said, "Oh, I thought that was one of those fancy digital picture frames." Number 4. Thank you for calling Starbucks, this is Jeff. How can I help you? Yes, where are you located? We're at the corner of Main and Magnolia. And where is that? Do you know where Main Street is? Yes. Do you know where Magnolia Avenue is? Yes. That's where we are. Well, I'm standing at that intersection and I can't find your store. Is it underground or something? Looks out the window and sees a woman who looks lost. Ma'am, turn to your left. Do you see a man in a green apron waving at you? Begins waving at her. Yes. That man is inside a Starbucks. Go there. That's not Starbucks. That's Quiznos. Ma'am, I'm very confident I'm in a Starbucks right now. You're not very helpful. Click. Number 5. Working in hotels, I have met quite a few dim bulbs. One night a woman stormed into the lobby screaming about how our parking garage did not have enough clearance for her jacked up Hummer. I explained that there's uncovered parking across the street, and if her Hummer did not fit in the garage, she could park there. She got irate about how it was unsafe and demanded this is a direct, go outside and raise the parking structure with a stick or something. I politely explained that was physically impossible for me to do, and she said, well, then you shouldn't be working with people. Number 6. In high school I worked at a local hardware store. We also refilled propane tanks for gas grills. After a summer or 2 of doing 10 or more tanks a day, you get good at guesstimating how full a tank is just by picking it up. One particularly hot day a customer comes in and sets his tank down next to me and asks for a fill-up. I pick up the tank and inform him that the tank is full and does not need a fill-up. He looks pretty agitated already with this short exchange and says that he checked that it was empty and would I just fill it up. To this, I inquired how he checked. There are several ways to check, one being by the weight of the tank, another is the thermal strip on the side, which his tank did not have, the other is to pour hot water down the side and feel where it gets cold. His reply assured me that this was one blithering idiot lucky to be alive. He said he checked it by holding his cigarette lighter in front of the valve and opening it. To this I replied, you ought to write to your congressman and representative because they saved your life today. This tank has an OPD safety valve on it that prevents the gas from coming out without anything attached. He walked out without another word and with a very red face. Number 7. I once had a customer bring back a laptop she bought the day before claiming it was broken. She said it wouldn't open. I asked her if it was Windows not loading up or a program not opening. She said the laptop itself wouldn't physically open. I took it out of the box, opened it up and just looked at her. Her mouth fell open, she looked at me and said, "Oh, it opens that side." Me and my sister tried for an hour to open it up last night and couldn't. She had been trying to open it from the hinge side. Number 8. I once had a customer service rep call me to the front of the store because a couple were screaming at her, saying that I sold them the wrong game for their console. I went up to the front, and they shifted their screaming back and forth between the two of us, but it was mainly directed at me, because I was apparently a greedy salesperson who purposely sold them a game that was incompatible with the Nintendo DS, that I had also sold them, just so I could roll around in my filthy lucre while cackling away at their misfortune. Anyway, in between the yelling, I managed to glean from them that their issue was that the game cartridge wouldn't actually fit into the console. So I picked up the game cartridge and slid it into the machine with no problems. They both shut up and stared at it for a second. The wife began to yell at me again, something about tricking them and making them look bad, while the husband shushed her and apologized. He explained that they had gone home and handed the whole lot to their 4-year-old to figure out, but their 4-year-old kept trying to put the cartridge in backwards. Apparently it never occurred to them to look into the matter themselves, as their toddler had things well in hand, and the obvious conclusion was that I had sold them the wrong thing. On purpose. Number 9. I saw an outraged piece of white trash storm into my local AT&T store as I was shopping. She ran up to the counter and screamed at the salesman for selling him a defective iPhone. She said that she had only used it for 2 days without charging when it suddenly shut off. She plugged it up, even hit it against her table, but nothing would make it turn back on. The salesman smiled, took the phone, held down the lock button, and the iPhone turned on. The lady flipped him off and ran out. Number 10. I worked as a lifeguard at a public pool last summer. We had a strict no water wings policy. Those little F are death traps. So this woman is putting water wings on her kid next to the pool, and I politely inform her that we do not allow water wings, and have life vests available for free literally 5 feet from where she's standing. She becomes so infuriated that I would dare to dictate how she treats her child and tons of other shit. So I call my supervisor over, and as he arrives and is speaking to her, the kid jumps in the pool. Water wings slip up his arms, and he's suspended underwater. Jump in and pull him out. Woman is furious that I would have the nerve to touch her child. How dare I? TL, doctor, saved a kid's ass cause his mom thought water wings were safe. Number 11. I worked fast food and a customer wanted a cheeseburger, medium fry and medium drink. I said okay, I will ring you up a number 1 combo meal. This angered the lady who told me that she didn't want the combo meal, just a medium drink, a medium fry and a cheeseburger. I told her that it would be the same order but this would save her money, but she got even more furious so I politely punched them in separately. Number 12. When working as an EMT, I had a patient, client/customer/whatever, call 911 because he couldn't burp. At 3 a.m. We arrived to find a male in his 40s who was very upset that he ate a bowl full of cucumbers and had not burped yet. And it's been over 20 minutes. I always burp when I eat cucumbers. Always. I tried nicely to talk him out of being transported. Patted him on the back and all that. Nothing. He insisted on going to the hospital and according to state protocols, I took him. Man oh man was the ER staff pissed smile, complete waste of resources. Number 13. I can think of 2 from my time working at Petco. I had a guy ask if we sold condoms for dogs. While I somehow managed to explain that we didn't have a straight face, I really wanted to ask him who would have been rolling M on if we did. The second was a lady who called saying that her Labrador was throwing up blood, and do you guys sell a pill that stops this? I gave in to the undisciplined side of my head and irritatedly responded that if her child was throwing up blood she probably wouldn't be going to Walgreens to find a drug for it, she'd be going to the doctors and she should probably do the same for her dog. That job scared me with the amount of people that were totally clueless on how to raise animals and yet had small children. Number 14. When working at Walmart Electronics around 8 years ago, I dealt with a sudden torrent of people returning wireless products. They were furious that these devices needed to be plugged in to charge. I had customers insisting that the other employees said their phone/keyboard/controller/etc. would absorb electricity from sockets as they walked around the house. We had to put up wireless devices do not charge wirelessly signs around the entire department. Number 15. Not mine, but a friend told this story in college, and it always amused me. She worked in a camera store, and this was the early 90s, so pre-digital camera era. This woman comes in, wanting to get some photos developed. She hands my friend the whole camera, not unusual. Apparently a lot of people didn't know how to get the film out after they were done with a roll, so this part wasn't uncommon. My friend examines the camera, and, my friend, ma'am, there's no film in here. Woman, that's okay, I still took the pictures. My friend, but there's no film in the camera. Woman, I know, but I took the pictures anyway, so please get them out. My friend, but you would have to have had film in the camera first. Woman, it doesn't matter, I press the button. There are pictures in there. Please get them out. And so on, for quite some time. It ended with the woman storming off, convinced my friend was incompetent. Number 16. Worked at EB Games when I was 18, in a city in Canada known for its rednecks. A man in his 40s came in and spent at least 3 hours browsing every single title on the wall. He refused my help several times and eventually came up to the counter with 5 brand new games on almost every system we carried. After ringing in his selection of Cabela's hunting, NASCAR racing and UFC fighting, he paid and left. Several hours later the man returns. He throws open the front door, it was a standalone store, and yells, "What kind of shit show are you running here?" He is red in the face and stomps towards me and throws his bag of games onto the counter. None of these work. This is a shit store. What kind of business? Man rants and yells at me for a minute or so before he decides to take a breath. I asked him, "You tried the games on your Xbox, PC and PlayStation and none of them worked?" His reply, "I just got that new player from Walmart this afternoon and none of these games work." Of course, he doesn't know the name of the disc player that he bought. After several painful minutes and him showing me the Walmart receipt out of his pocket, he bought a DVD player. TL, doctor, man buys video games from me and tries to play them in his DVD player. Screams at me for 20 minutes because it doesn't work. Number 17. I used to work at Radio Shack and I had a lady come in and ask for a radio capable of getting broadcasts from the Middle East. I showed her a few, she purchased it and asked me to help her tune it. I found some stations from various Middle Eastern sources, tuned them as she stood there with this puzzled look on her face. I asked what was wrong and she looked at me with this seriously grim expression and said, "How am I supposed to track terrorists if they don't speak American?" Without speaking, I refunded her money and went on the only smoke break I've ever taken. I don't smoke, so I just ate French fries. Make sure to share your personal story in the comments below and have the opportunity to be featured in a future video. Also, if you like these topics, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification button to continue seeing more content like this every day. See you next time.